is the only moment that matters in your whole life. Breathe yourself back into this moment. It's amazing how much we hold our breath. And so I invite you just to notice that you're probably not breathing that full breath like dogs and cats and babies do. So I invite you to imagine that there in front of your mouth is a candle, maybe about 6 inches. And to gently blow that candle out when you breathe out. And then allow a deeper in-breath. And then again, this candle lights itself again. And blow that candle out. Play with this for a few breaths. What begins to happen is that you begin to extend your out breath. You begin to open your breath, which you are used to holding, by simply extending your out breath. Not trying to breathe a deeper in-breath, but just allowing a long, slow out breath. And as soon as you get the hang of it by blowing the candle out, let it go. And just allow your out breath to be delicious. Long, slow out breath. Oh. Oh. Allowing this long, slow out breath to begin to calm the busyness in your mind, to begin to relax what is holding on in your body, and begin to remind yourself of the safety of letting go. Ah. 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 And now let that go and just allow yourself to be breathed by life. What a novel idea. Yes, you're breathing. But the greater truth is, life is breathing you. Oh, let go of even the idea that you are breathing. And allow yourself to be breathed. Rest in the rhythm of your breath. And now notice, what did your mind do with this invitation to really let go into life? And even if it resisted, even if it was, I don't know, working on your to-do list, that's okay. In this kind of work, we're not trying to do anything right. Everything is an invitation to either be here or to get to know how your mind keeps you away from here, how your mind has learned how to struggle with life. Because trying to fix the struggle is an endless game. But learning how to see it, and see it with great compassion, is the way out of the world of struggle and back into an intimate, alive, trust-filled connection with life as it is, right here, right now. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So welcome one and all. I hope this is working. I am not a computer person, and so I'm on the phone rather than on Zoom, which is very weird. But we had everybody call in. We usually do call-ins on the free webinars. So I will just proceed, and of course then the recording will be available for you. So the last time we explored, the last free webinar was on March 18th. And that's, we just really were beginning to get that maybe this, we called it the coronavirus at that time. Now it's called COVID-19. But just maybe this COVID-19 virus was something much bigger than we were anticipating. And I live in Kirkland, Washington, which was the first place, just a few miles away from my house, the assisted living place where the first reported case in the U.S. of the coronavirus happened. And it wasn't until March 23rd that our governor did a stay-at-home order, because by that time we began to realize that this was much bigger than we could possibly comprehend. And so here we have all been in this amazing time, this time where during this time also that George Floyd was murdered, and we saw it on video, and it struck something so deep within our hearts. And Black Lives Matter began, and now, all the protests and all the riots. What is happening here? Is life going the wrong direction? Is life falling apart? Well, I would say no. And I would say it is actually coming together. That life is a constantly evolving process. And it is constantly falling apart and coming together, and falling apart and coming together. And, this is why I have people come and sit on the moon with me, because, if you can go back and see a video of the unfolding of life on this planet, it's been, a disaster and then a coming together, and a disaster and a coming together. And we are living in one of those so-called disaster times, the so-called falling apart times. But this is why I speak so much about Elizabeth Satoris's butterfly story. She's an evolutionary biologist. Oh, I just absolutely love that woman. And her take on the butterfly story is that here is this caterpillar that is really a very destructive animal compared to its size. And it also has a very limited world. I mean, it could live on one branch practically, or one tree its whole life. And it just takes and takes and takes and takes, and then it can't move anymore, and it weaves a cocoon. And in that cocoon, the caterpillar turns to goo. Oh my God. And what the biologists say is out of that goo comes what they call imaginal cells. I love this. Imaginal cells. the cells that represent the next phase. And the goo always kills the first wave of imaginal cells. Isn't that fascinating? Oh my God. And that causes these imaginal cells to gather together, and the urge of the new becomes stronger than the urge of the old to destroy it. And out of this cocoon comes a butterfly. And this is an entirely different being than the caterpillar. Rather than being a taker, it's a giver. It gives great beauty. It pollinates. But also its view is so much more expansive. You know, monarchs can fly from Canada to Mexico and then back again. I mean, it's just amazing. So to me, you know, here was life. It was, you know, the earth was gas and dust and, you know, and whatever, and it began to cool, and the oceans, you know, began to appear, and then the land, and then life began to show up in the oceans, and it crawled out of the sea and onto the land, and all, you know, I hung out with Brian Swim, who, a lot, who, created the Emmy award-winning documentary, The Journey of the Universe, which is really our story, because you come out of all of that creativity that has come before you. And in all of that journey, it falls apart, it comes together, it falls apart, and it comes together. So to me, you and I are living in this amazing time where the caterpillar of human consciousness, the caterpillar of the kind of mind that has caused so much heartache on this planet. That's the kind of mind that wants to dominate, that wants to be a dictator, that wants to, you know, be the head of a church that tells you what to do, when to do, how to do it, where to do it, who wants to be the dominant one in the, you know, a marriage that thinks that war is a good way to solve problems, that has divided people into caste systems and class systems, and has decided that your value is by your skin color. I mean, oh my God, I think if an alien came and you know, sat down and said to me, people value people by their skin color? I mean, this alien could not even begin to comprehend how people would do that. That's the caterpillar mind. The caterpillar mind that killed over 200 million of its fellow human beings in the last century in the name of war. Not only soldiers, but, you know, innocent bystanders and children and women and all of that. And so the imaginal cells are coming out of the goo. And usually that only happens in crisis. And you and I are living in a time of crisis. And you and I are the imaginal cells. And just this little gathering tonight for an hour together, just exploring a view that is different than the caterpillar's view. Remember, the caterpillar is very, very limited. You know, it knows a tree, you know, practically in its whole life, whereas the caterpillar can see the vast scope of things. The caterpillar mind, when it begins, I mean, the butterfly mind, when it begins to arise inside of a human being, is the kind of mind that really understands we're all in this together. Doesn't matter what our gender is, what our race is, what our religion is, even what our politics are. We're all in this together. There's only one human race living on this tiny blue, green, white jewel of a planet. And this is the time where more and more of us are beginning to grow up. We're beginning to move into the caterpillar mind. So why is this time so important? Everything is unsettled. I mean, you can't hug you may, get together with your family, but you can't hug them. You have to keep 6 feet apart. Your business may be failing. I mean, my son owns a bar, and oh my God, they're always threatening to, shut it down again. I mean, he barely survived the first shutdown. You may be a nurse or a doctor, and you go into a war zone every day, or a bus driver, or a janitor. All these essential workers, the postal workers, the UPS drivers. This is a scary time. We can't rely upon the old ways we used to take care of ourselves. We're having a hard day, and we go to the bar and have a drink, and sit around with people we don't know and chat and talk and laugh, And so many of us are stuck at home, and you may be isolated and all alone, stuck at home by yourself. Or you may be stuck with your family, which maybe you feel even more lonely with your family. How can we trust this time? How can we see this as, rather than a breakdown time, it is a breakthrough time? And how I see it is that this old kind of mind, it's the mind that talks inside of you all day long. We have 65,000 thoughts a day, and they say that 95%, I say that 95% of them are repeats from the day before. But this is amplifying the core structures of the kind of mind that struggles with life, that causes so much heartache on this planet. So it brings up fear. This caterpillar mind is made out of fear. It has forgotten how to trust the universal process of life. Life is for you. That's why I am constantly talking about Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie's quotes, which I love so much. Byron Katie's is, life is simple. It doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. And everything happens in the exact right time, neither too soon nor too late. Oh, you mean we can trust this time? This time when there's so much divisiveness and so much death and so much fear and so much loss of our comfort, of the ways we comfort ourselves? Yes, we can. I'm not talking to your caterpillar mind. I'm talking to that butterfly mind that is emerging now. The caterpillar mind would never, ever agree with me. This is horrible. It's a disaster. What happens, if I can't get my hair cut for the next 6 months or get my hair colored, for heaven's sakes? It's just these little, simple, basic things that we used to rely upon. And Eckhart Tolle says, life will give you the exact set of experiences you need in order to become a conscious human being. How do we know they're the right set? Because you're having them. I love that quote. Well, I love both of those quotes. And so what is it to become a conscious human being? It's to become a butterfly mind, a mind that has dropped into your aware heart. Your heart is your main brain. Science now shows your heart is your main brain. And the heart is not exclusive like the mind is. It's inclusive. It's not judgmental. It has empathy. It knows that all of us are doing the absolute best that we know how with the conditioning we have been given. So to become a conscious human being is to begin to move more and more into the butterfly mind. You don't do that by trying to move into the butterfly mind. You get to know how your struggling mind, your caterpillar mind, how it talks inside of you. how does it talk about fear? What is its story of shame? What is its favorite way to judge other people? Does it get caught up in loneliness? Can you have moments where you say, oh, I see you, loneliness, rather than I am lonely? Can you even come to the place that you finally say hello to the despair that you have carried your whole life? We all have it inside of us. We all have this conditioned caterpillar mind, and it's made out of fear, and it's glued together with judgment, and it's always trying to get rid of what it doesn't like and get to what it does like. And that's an endless game of struggle. My mentor, Stephen Levine, said he was sitting beside the deathbed of a 93-year-old woman, and she said, it can't end now because it hasn't started yet. The endless game of trying to make ourselves better or different than what we are, trying to make life better or different than what we are, the endless game of not trusting that life is for you, can take you over and keep you caught until your last breath. But that's not your destiny, because you're listening to these words. You're listening to this invitation that life is much more than just your addiction to struggle. You've been trained to struggle with life. And yet you can relearn how to get to know struggle enough that you can relax into life and see it truly is for you. It knows what it is doing, especially when it looks like it's breaking down. And I can speak all this because I took on as much heartache and as much struggle and as much abuse as a child could and still survive. And I barely survived it. And then when I was 28, it was either 27 or 28, that time is all kind of a blur. My first teacher came into my life, and he just blew me away. And I couldn't even tell you what he was talking about. He was a yoga teacher, but he taught Jnana yoga too. And I went to this weekend, and I was just transfixed. And that moment, my life changed from a black and white B-grade horror movie to a Dolby surround sound Technicolor Panavision movie. And I couldn't tell you what he was saying. All I knew was he was telling the truth. And the third time I saw him, I recorded the whole weekend. And then I went home and transcribed the whole thing, transcribe a sentence and then rewind. And God, this took hours and hours and hours. And when my house and store burned to the ground and I lost absolutely everything, it was that notebook that I grieved, because that notebook spoke the truth. And when Joel came to Tacoma the last time, I went to him and I said, I want to tell you what I think I'm hearing you say, and I want you to tell me if I'm on the right track. And he said, okay. And I said, in the seeing is the movement. And his eyes twinkled, and he said, yes. What did he mean by that? For my entire life, people tried to fix me. And all I heard was there was something wrong with me. You know what that feeling is somebody is telling you what to do, how to do it, and where to do it, and you're either, very mad at them or you are ashamed of yourself. And so I just, fell down into a bog of endless despair. And he was the first human being that said, there's nothing that needs to be fixed. There's nothing that needs to be understood. It is in the seeing of your struggles that they will move through you. if you're dealing with a lot of anxiousness, it can be very helpful to, maybe you go get some medications, or maybe you do a breathing practice a couple of times a day. I'm not saying to not do those things, but I'm saying the way out of living in endless fear or shame or despair or anger or whatever is to get to know it. To have moments where, oh my God, your mind is saying, oh my God, I said that. I just can't believe I said that. And oh my God, I know I'll be fired when I go into work tomorrow. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, that's fear talking. Or at the beginning it was shame talking. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that, said that. I want you to really get this sense that life gives us really deep challenges, not because we have done something wrong, or God fell asleep on the job, or this is karmic retribution from 3 lives ago. Life gives us our challenges, all of our challenges, whether it's financial or health or relationship or your kids or whatever. Life gives us our challenges in order to help us to see how we struggle, to help us to have moments where we say, when we're saying, oh, I'm so afraid, oh, that's fear. Or, my God, I'm such a screw up, oh, that's shame. Oh my God, I'll never get through this. Oh, that's despair. Or, oh, I hate him. Oh, that is anger. So, I am here to invite you for just this moment to let in the truth of what Eckhart and Byron Katie are saying. Your life is for you. Your life is giving you the exact set of experiences you need in order to become smarter than your caterpillar brain, in order to become a butterfly. And I think, I didn't say this, there's a line at the end of the Byron Katie quote that she says, let's see how it goes. Life is simple, it happens to you, it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, it happens in the right time, in the right way. You don't have to like this, but it's easier if you do. Well, I don't like the challenges that, I've had some pretty big life challenges in my life. I don't think I have to like them. So I like to say, you don't have to trust these challenges, but it's easier if you do. So much of what I share is really the language of a curious mind, not the curious mind that's trying to figure anything out, but the mind that is curious about what I am experiencing right now. Oh, and so much of what I offer is the compassionate mind, that is dropped into the heart, that you can begin to meet your struggles with kindness, with understanding. Let's see if I can remember. There's a wonderful quote from Stephen Levine. When you finally see how much fear there is in your mind, you will turn to it like a mother turns toward a frightened child. Can you feel the difference? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is just, my life is such a mess. Oh, I see you, dear sweet mind. I see you struggle. And I am here with you. And so much of what I share is also about how to trust this process. You don't move into trusting the process right away. We have lived far away from the process. We have lived in our mind that have become life has become an ongoing project that we've got to do it right, and if we don't do it right, then we are wrong. But the more you can see, and see with great heart, how your mind struggles, how your body holds, how your emotions are, the more your heart begins to open, and your struggles, when they arise, they much more easily pass through. So, if you want to make a comment or ask a question, you hit *9 on your phone, and then I am going to, there was a question that was sent in that, we do these free nights, like 4 times a year. And if you signed up for the newsletter, you'll always hear of when they're going to be. And you can send in questions. If you can't be, many people live in other parts of the world and they don't, always want to stay up until 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning. And so you can send questions in if you're not comfortable being up in the middle of the night or asking them. So this is from Evelyn. I've been living with chronic muscular tightness for decades now. On a positive note, I am nowhere near as tight as I used to be. Life has forced me to open one terrifying step at a time. I'm learning that the tighter I hold on, the harder life has to work in getting me to open, to relax, to let go into the present moment wherever I find myself. Often not easy. I am aware that I am tight or tense to some degree. I see it. I relax my muscles, and then seconds later, I find myself lost in my thoughts and tight again. It seems to be a battle between my desire to soften and relax into life and my component tightness. Seems we are in conflict or at war with one another. How can I wisely work with my desire to move forward and maintain a relaxed body while I go throughout my day, especially when I feel overwhelmed by the seemingly endless things to do, when having to work full-time with a body that has been through a lot and is often tired? I hope this makes sense. Thank you for your talks and your generous wisdom. So thank you, Evelyn. And oh my God, this is just, what you've asked is just so important. So we all are tight. There was I don't know if you can still Google this, but years ago I saw a slow motion video of children on, those series of rings in the playground, and the children, swing from one ring to the other to the other. And the young children would let go a moment before they grabbed the next ring, because they still hadn't lost trust in themselves and in life. And that as the older children, they videotaped them on and then, slowed it down. And they would not let go until they would grab the next ring. And then they did some adults, and it was so funny because the adults could hardly even do it. The other study that is just so powerful is of children and their breathing practices. And all the children were breathing like dogs and cats and breathe, and babies. Their whole trunk was involved. I mean, actually, their whole body is involved, but their whole trunk was involved, and not one of the children was breathing their natural breath by the time they got to first grade. Oh, my God. So, what we learned when we were very young was we learned to let go of our naturalness. It's the naturalness that just swings from one ring to another. It's a natural connection with life. It's a natural being at one with the rhythm of life. And all of us let go of that natural rhythm in order to fit into the environment that we were being raised with. And as children, we were really, really concerned about our parents. First of all, they were very confusing. And even if they really loved us, they wounded us in ways and did really things that just didn't make sense at all, like saying nice things to the neighbor when they came to the door and then bad-mouthing them, when the door closed, or sending you to your room because your older sibling, took your toy and taunted you with it. And then you bit the older sibling because you were so enraged, a natural, response, and you're the one that got spanked and sent to your room. Life was very confusing. And the other image I like to give is of when we were really young, and just think of, we've crawled to a cupboard in the kitchen. And we've opened it, and there's these shiny things. Adults call them pots and pans, but we didn't know they were pots and pans. And we pull a lid out, and it's just so shiny, and we put it on the floor, and we pull a pot out, and we drop it on the floor. Oh, it hits the lid. And we pick up the lid and start hitting the pot. This is wonderful, this noise. I've never heard this noise before. And around the corner comes your parent, and they yell, "Stop that!" And I want you to feel, can you feel what happened to that little body? This happened to all of us over and over and over again. And so we're not even aware that we hold our breath. For centuries, they've said that, you got a crick in your neck because you left the window open at night. Well, that, maybe it was really cold and you tightened up around it, but mostly we get cricks in our neck because we hold on. And each one of us has very particular patterns of holding that, we all hold on in the same place. We get a knot in the stomach when we're trying real hard, and we get a lump in our throat when, there's just a lot of sadness, and we usually get some tightness in our chest, when we're afraid. This is very generalized, and, and it's different for everybody, a little bit different, but we get the crick in our neck when we've been judging ourselves. And I used to have horrible migraine headaches in my early 20s. I don't anymore, and that was because I was, unmerciful with myself. I was tighter than a drum. So the reason why I'm saying all this, Evelyn, is because we're all tight to a greater or lesser degree. And the wonderful thing about that is, number one, to begin to recognize that we're all holding on, that we've all lost trust in life, and we're all trying to do life and do life right. But you can use this tightness as your guide. I call it becoming a tightness detective. So when you notice, let's say you've just been in a big meeting at work, and you're riding down the elevator to your, office, or you're walking across the campus, or you're in a huge, can't think of the name of it, like if you're working in an airplane hangar or something like that, you're walking back to your station, and all of a sudden you notice that you've got this knot in your stomach, or you've got this crick in your neck, or you've got this ache in your back. I invite people to become a tightness detective because, as Stephen Levine taught me, the body is solidified mind. In other words, the body expresses what you are thinking and feeling. Just think of, the last time you're angry. There's different sensations going on in your body than the last time you were really sad or the last time you were really happy. So to know that everybody's tight. And in a way, Evelyn, it's wonderful to be really, really tight because you can't just exist in the caterpillar mind. Life is inviting you to wake up. So you are. There is a relaxing that is happening for you. And remember Pema Chodron's definition of enlightenment, relaxing into life. I mean, I just want to laugh when I say that. I mean, that's the best definition of enlightenment I've ever heard, And oftentimes, when we have had such a tight grip on life, life has to kind of, take a hammer and kind of, try to pry our fingers off our grip of life. So no judgment for how tight you are, just fascinating. Be fascinated, and you're beginning to see. This is so exciting. You're beginning to see that the harder you hold on, the tighter you hold, the harder life becomes. It's like life is a flow of energy. And just imagine all of us are hoses. And we've got so many crinks in our hoses, it's not funny. True joy comes when you get to know how you hold on. That's why I was saying earlier that your challenges are for you. They are tailor-made to show you how you struggle with life, So you're now saying that you can see it and you relax your muscles. And then seconds later, you find yourself lost in your thoughts and tighten again. So I was a part-time meditator for about 11 years until I met Stephen Levine. And I've meditated practically every single day, probably 99% of those days since I met him when I was 39. Because he said to me, if you sit for an hour, Mary, and you bring your attention back to your focus one time in that hour, that is time well spent. So what's happening for you is you really are beginning to see there's a whole nother world right outside this struggling mind that has gotten tight, it holds on, it's a human doing rather than a human being. And when you begin to see that there is something else and you begin to relax into it, the mind is scared of that. Remember, the last time we were fully present for life, we got the living bejesus scared out of us. Just think of the pots and pans or the older brother. And so when we begin to relax into life, the mind grabs hold again. I want you to understand that just like Stephen said, if you sit for an hour and you bring your attention back one time in an hour, that's time well spent. You're not going to move out of this tight world of struggle that most human beings live in overnight. Somebody asked Stephen, how long does this take? And he says, it's the work of a lifetime. But just to know, just feel how different it would feel to know that a moment of relaxing counts. And when you go back up into, like you said, I go right back up into it, And now I'm in conflict. There's a part of me that wants to relax, and there's the other part of me that just wants to tighten and struggle. What would happen if, when you go back up into the tight and struggle, that's not a problem? That you're there because there's something to see. That it's not because you're doing something wrong or you're a failure at learning how to relax into life. These moments, just like for me, somebody asked me, how do you meditate? And, and then they asked me, how long do you meditate? And I meditate until it's done. So what do you mean? I said, well, every meditation is a journey. It's a process. And all I do is just bring my attention into this moment. I don't try to get any place else. And I am just that which bears witness to thoughts, feelings, sensations. And every once in a while I'll get caught in something, but, I've explored so much of it. And if I do get caught, then, very quickly I get uncaught. I see it, I acknowledge it, just like Joel said, in the seeing is the movement. It passes through, and I come right back to this moment. How did I get there? By those moments accumulating, by not fighting how much my mind struggled in the beginning. Sometimes I would sit, after Stephen said, sit for an hour. I would sit for an hour, and I would only notice my breath one time. But those were some of the most powerful meditations, because it's so powerful when your attention is completely lost in your thought and you bring it back. You have just strengthened the muscle of your attention, and you have just noticed there is something so different than your story about life. It's called life. So, what would happen if you don't see these parts as in conflict with one another? That it's just the natural ebb and flow of life. And that when you tighten again, it's not a problem. It's an invitation. And at the beginning, this can be very confusing because the mind will try to do this. Just stay with your body. Just when you find yourself struggling again, just ask yourself, what's holding on inside of me right now? And if you can, bring your attention there. Remember, we're not trying to fix anything, change anything. Let's say it's a knot in your stomach. And you just bring your attention there. And in order to keep your attention there, because we are not used to paying attention to our life, describe it. How big is this knot? Is it on the surface, or does it go deeper? Does it come and go? Does it move around? Does it have definite boundaries or not? These questions keep your attention there, and we're now beginning to realize that the most powerful healing tool we have is our attention. The kind of spacious attention that doesn't try to fix anything, it just is present for it. So hopefully that makes sense. That these two parts, this part that now is discovering how to relax into life, and the part that tightens again, they're not at war with one another, they're not in conflict. This is just the natural flow of life. And then the last part of what you shared, how do I do this? How do I go about my day, especially when I feel overwhelmed by the seemingly endless things to do, when having to work full time with a body that has been through a lot and is often tired? Oh my God, I was born with a sensitive body. And by the time I was 3, I was so sick they took me off wheat, eggs, dairy, and chocolate. So and I know what it's like to have a highly, highly sensitive body. And having that sensitive body, it's hard to live in the fast pace of our daily world today. But it is also so powerful because you can't just stay unconscious. That your sensitive body is asking you to keep on grounding in it. If you have to go to work, you use bathrooms. You use bathrooms to go in and breathe like we did at the beginning. Or to wash your hands and look at yourself in the mirror while you're washing your hands and wink at yourself. You find a grounding place at work, or if you ride the bus, you ground yourself right here in your breath or in the sounds around you or in the sensations in your body. Your sensitive body needs you. And oh my God, we are so far away from our bodies. That's why I love that quote from James Joyce. Mr. Duffy lives a short distance from his body. I love it. So the last thing you said was, how can I be with overwhelm? It takes time. just even notice your caterpillar mind. Just even notice that you hold your breath a lot. Oh, that is just huge. You are on the path of awakening. To just begin to notice when your body tightens when you're at work or dealing with your kids. Or to begin to notice, oh, the afraid one is here. That's fear talking inside of me. That's so powerful. And so begin with your body, and then begin with like irritation and mild anxiousness, and a little sadness. Sadness that your favorite coffee shop is closed. Don't go to the big guns right away, but slowly and surely, as you follow this path of becoming a conscious human being, of living more and more from the caterpillar mind, you will be able to be without falling into it or running away from it. You'll be able to be with overwhelm, and some of you it may be despair, for some of you it may be deep, deep shame. For some of you, it may be dread. That was my main thing. Terror coupled with the feeling that something bad is going to happen because I did something wrong. Even the deepest of heavy states that make up this caterpillar mind, you can come to the place as you strengthen that muscle of your attention. Strengthen the muscle of your curiosity. They can arise and pass right through you. This is not the quick fix. It's just like a child learning how to walk. And when we hear this, we're like a mother that is expecting the child inside of us to run a marathon by the time it's 3. The child just slowly and surely strengthened its muscles so it could stand up. It could stand up on its own. It could walk a step on its own. It could walk on its own. It could run on its own. And then eventually, if it chose to run a marathon. So strengthen your muscle. If this calls to you, give yourself the gift of a few minutes every day that you just choose a focus that is grounded in life, like the sounds around you, or the rising and falling of your breath, or the sensations in your body. And be willing to sit with your eyes closed for at least a couple of minutes. Now, I know people say, oh, you got to meditate 20 minutes twice a day. Well, just try that. I will guarantee you, and I've worked with people over 30 years, and I know my own experience. As soon as I told myself I had to meditate twice a day for 20 minutes, I may have muscled myself into it for a week, and then slowly and surely it faded away. Consistency is far more important than quantity. And so I invite you to give yourself that gift and know that there's a very good chance that maybe most of that time, even if it's only 2 or 3 minutes, your attention will be following thought wherever it goes. But then just notice, oh my God, stories. My attention is in my stories. And then just bring it back. And one of 2 things happen. The first is you begin to strengthen that muscle that can begin to relate to tightness rather than turning it into a problem, that muscle that can see overwhelm rather than being lost in it or trying to get away from it. The other thing you notice, if you give yourself just even a few minutes consistently, day in, day out, you'll see there is a huge difference between your stories about life and life itself. And you are here in this call tonight because life is calling to you. Life is saying, psst, you. And life is also saying, you're right where you need to be. So we just got a couple of minutes left. Let's see if there's any questions. You hit *9 on your phone. And as we're just waiting to see if there's any questions or ahas, just come back and notice that you are being breathed by life. So 318 318-267. I am unmuting you, and you have a question.
Hi, this is Hope. I'm really
Hi, Hope.
Hi. You had said something a little earlier that I just wanted a little clarification on.
Okay.
Telling yourself or telling myself, if you're not doing it right, then you're doing it wrong.
Oh, God,
Is that a message that we play to ourselves?
Yes, and that we learned that very early. And it is one of the core glues to the caterpillar mind. And I am here to tell you, as somebody that felt I not only did it wrong, but I was so wrong that I didn't deserve to live. So I tried to kill myself 3 times. And the last time when I was slitting my wrist and I couldn't get myself to bleed enough to die, all I could remember, Hope, was this wave of self-hate that I was even a failure at suicide. How did I come out of that? By what I've shared with you all tonight. And what I will share with you is the voice that says, I have done it wrong, and I am wrong, never, ever sees the truth. We all make mistakes. That's part of being human. Stephen, my main mentor, said, he was 6 feet tall, if you take a step down the path of life, you go 2 feet. If you fall flat on your face, you go 6 feet. He's basically saying that part of our job as a human being is to make mistakes, is to, and I'm putting this in air quotes, do it wrong, because that's the caterpillar mind's opinion, but it's never, ever the truth. Does that give you a little bit of space around that voice that says, if I didn't do it right, I am wrong?
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. Thank you
so good.
much. Thank you.
You are welcome, and as you get to know that voice, because that's a very young child inside of you, we were the center of the universe. So when things were off in our family, we were to blame. That's just how children, take it in, okay? And there were so many expectations. Most parents wanted us to be what they thought we should be. So we got this story going inside of us that, oh, I'm doing it right now. Oh, I'm doing it wrong. Get to know that voice. And when the next time you see it talking, tell it, Mary says hello.
I will.
Okay, thank you, Hope. And if anybody is interested, we're doing the course, the compulsion course. It's based on my book, The Gift of Our Compulsions, and it is happening in September. And it's the core premise of that book is our core compulsion is to struggle. And all the other compulsions are an attempt to numb out from that heartache of struggle. And so this course not only helps you with how to become smarter than struggle, but it also helps you actually with your compulsions, because trying to control compulsions doesn't work. The statistics show that. and there is a whole nother way to work with compulsions, whether it's the compulsion to worry or bite your fingernails or, screen time or shopping or eating or drinking or taking drugs or whatever it is. All of those are an attempt to numb out from the heartache of the struggle we carry. We can become free from that. And there is a sliding scale available for anybody that needs it. So all you do is contact Deborah. She's the woman that signed you up, and either sign up for the course. Oh, you can sign up for the course on the website, or if you need some financial help, contact Deborah. So thank you all. This has just been so wonderful, and I think this is a message that we really need to hear over and over again. We're learning the language of the aware human heart. We're learning the language of trust again. So we don't have to like this time where everything is topsy-turvy, but we can trust it. Thank you all. Namaste. Bye.